of you do this? Yeah, hello online. Ubair, Himanshu, Sunil, Shadab. Yeah, hi all of you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Am I streaming fine? Online students? Yes? Okay. Very nice, Ubair. In fact, I came across a very nice quote. I shared that on the general Telegram group. The quote essentially means that the path to happiness is developing some habits. Okay, habits essentially more about developing some kind of a routine. Imagine if I was to wake up in the morning and I have the freedom of doing anything I want to do, where there is no process, no milestone, no goal. So yes, first day I will have a sense of freedom. School nahi, college nahi, work nahi, sleep till whatever time I want to sleep, get up at whatever time I want to get up, maybe some breakfast, some lunch, TV dekhna dekh lenge, I'll do random things. For 1 or 2 days, the random thing looks nice because you're breaking from some routine. Routine mein aadmi band jata hai, and then you feel a bit suffocated. So if you give me a day off, कि जो करना है करो जाओ, I'll start like that. But trust me, after 1 or 2 days, or maybe a week or so के बाद में, I will have restlessness. Because I think human nature है that we want to move towards something. Human nature is that we seek, we are curious, and we want to have a sense of progress. Okay, I have achieved this. Let's get on. I have achieved this. Let's get on. I have achieved this. When you don't have a milestone, when you don't have a target, okay, and you are moving randomly, वो sense of progress नहीं आता है. Okay, then it's like पता नहीं life कहाँ जा रहा है. So वैसे ही, for most of you, when the class gets over, okay, फिर आपका routine है. एक class में what happens is, the class gives you a routine. Like it or not, get up at 8 in the morning, go to class at 9 o'clock. Like it or not, the geography class starts at 12, be in the class by 11:30 and 45. Whether you feel like studying or not, you have a routine. Keep studying with me till 2:30, get till 2 o'clock. So आपका एक routine बना हुआ है. Once the class gets over, okay, then it's like freedom. जो करना है करो. अब जो करना है करो में, okay, for a couple of days, fine. Oh, I went to class, I'm so tired, I'll take some rest. I went to class, I'm so tired, like I will, distract myself with something else. फिर वो, you start with some kind of restlessness. So you must have a kind of a routine. Okay, yes, routine beyond a point can be suffocating. So take a 1 day break. Okay, you can have some variation within the routine, but routine रखना पड़ेगा, and you must have milestones to move towards. Okay, I have read this, done. I have read this, I'm done. This chapter I had to do, I'm done. You must have those milestones with you. और यही common problem है for students. Okay, why people lose the momentum in studies. When you are in class, most of you will struggle with, sir, time नहीं है. Okay, time नहीं है, पढ़ाई नहीं हो रहा, time नहीं पढ़ाई नहीं हो रहा. My always common refrain is, let the class be over. फिर देखते हैं कितना पढ़ाई करते हो आप. When the class gets over, you have enough of time, that's when your struggle actually starts. तो ऐसे कुछ targets होने चाहिए आपके. So, with geography, the target is class plus class notes. Not negotiable. After class, the class note a summary. This is 2.5 hours of work. Class summary, okay, I will like if you can do that in 30 or 45 minutes, but some of you can take 1 hour, initially maybe 1.5 hours. Okay. That's a task. Then a task could be some reference readings, maybe twice or thrice a week. इस किताब का ये 2-3 पेज पढ़ लो. And as you progress, you'll have some tasks like, let us do 1 or 2 PYQs. तो एक routine set करो अपना, all of you. And routine of 1 week. 1 week, let me write at least 3 answers. 1 week, let me read at least 1 NCERT properly. 1 week, I'll at least cover and revise XY portion of GS. Take all of you. So start off this. Okay. Shadab, the commitment is about 24 hours. And maybe on some days our class coordinator is on leave. But generally we try to upload the same day. But our commitment is 24 hours. So wait करो, वो सब मिल जाएगा आपको शादाब. ठीक है? Okay. So fine, all of you have joined the class now. So those who walked in late, I was telling your friends, do your summaries well. Okay. And nothing else. I'll suggest that. Okay. That is your main work. Focus on that. Keep on doing that regularly. Master that. For all the rest for the new students. Okay. Okay, then let's get started now. Hi Sushant. Good morning Manish. GS Geography course. मतलब समझा नहीं. This is Geography optional course going on. Okay. So our discussion was around. We started with geographical thought. Okay. Geographical thought is essential about what? How did geography as a discipline develop? How did geography as a discipline develop? And if you look at the phases in geography's evolution, you realize there is one phase when we were getting familiar with Earth's diversity. Okay? The first phase was we are getting familiar with the Earth's diversity. Kahan mountain hai, kahan river hai, where do we have deserts? Achha, one recommendation to all of you, I insist on this, but then your choice. It's a nice habit to bring a summary to class every day, and the first 10, 15, 20 minutes when I'm revising, keep the summary on your desk and keep revising with me. That's one way of ensuring कि आप summary करोगे. ठीक है? And then as I revise, you keep checking. Okay, I know this, I know this. अगर एक नया word आया उसमें add कर लेना है. ठीक है? So all of you, if you can do this next class onwards. Yeah. The first phase was that we were getting familiar with whatever is on earth. Somebody observes, somebody records, there are travelers, there are philosophers, there are people who are curious, they are not geographers. Okay, the first phase, we are getting familiar with the earth's diversity. Then comes a phase when there is a demand for geography as a subject. After seeing that the earth has tremendous amount of diversity, then somebody says कि यार इसको अलग ही रखना चाहिए फिर. then this type of Earth's diverse elements, you can't fit into any known subject. Like I say, I've discovered Japan, I know about India, I know about Siberia, I know about mountains, I know about the rivers. Can't fit karoge. Will you fit this into history? Will you fit this into mathematics? Will you fit this into social issues? Is it part of biology? Is it part of botany? The places that I know, okay, where will I put them into? Then I realized I need a subject which is about the Earth and Earth's diversity. There was a demand for, let us have a subject that studies the Earth, and we'll call that as geography. Then there was a phase when geography gets established. The geography gets established. Okay, this is a geography like a proper discipline. Geography like a proper department. Now the people who study geography are now called as geographers. Yahan tak we call them as travelers. Yahan tak we call them as philosophers. Okay, they are writers. They are storytelling maybe. Okay. Now we have people who call themselves as, yes, I am a geographer. I am a student of geography. I am a student of Earth's diversity. The geography gets established. And after this, we have the debates in geography. Once geography is a subject, ab usme debates hoga. What will you focus on? And this debate, remember, is unending process. Jaise, once the country called India is made, debate will go on. They will go on till eternity. Okay, should we develop agriculture? Shall we have industries? Industries mein, shall we have manufacturing? Shall we have IT industries? Development mein, shall we focus on rural development? Shall we focus on urban development? Urban development, should we make more roads or shall we make probably walkable communities? Development mein, shall we preserve the forest or something else? This debate will go on because with time, priorities change. With time, understanding changes. जैसे आपका struggle of preparation कभी खत्म नहीं होने वाला. Okay, it's a progressive change. Initial struggle is come to class, वो अपने आप में struggle है. Then the struggle is सर पढ़ा रहे हैं मैं लिख नहीं पा रहा हूँ. Okay, वो भी struggle है. Then the struggle is सब खत्म हो गया मुझे याद नहीं हो रहा. Okay, वो खत्म हो जाएगा, याद तो हो गया, अब लिखूं कैसे आंसर लिख दिया, एग्जाम में खत्म कैसे करूं पेपर. It goes on. So as you achieve something, some other problem is waiting for you. Some other new concept is waiting for you. So this is an ongoing process. Okay, debates, I said the debates is what makes a subject enriched. Debate is what, okay, adds to the knowledge understanding. Debate is what enriches anything. Subject ho, country ho, society ho. Okay, if you mechanically follow things without change, you become obsolete. So this is broadly what geography's phase was. This phase when we were getting to know Earth. Iska a phase which was antiquity phase, a phase called as Dark Age, and the phase called as the Voyages. Okay? I'm only slotting what I taught yesterday in an organized form, that's all. Geography starts with, let us know Earth. And remember, when antiquity is there, what I know about the Earth is part fact, part fiction. Lot of imagination is there. Okay, and stories have been built. And stories are not entirely random. नहीं है. कुछ देखा होगा कहीं पर. Okay, somebody must have observed something. Somebody must have heard something. Okay, and then you build a story around that. So there is a phase of antiquity, followed by Dark Age, and the Dark Age with the Arabs dominating knowledge, the Age of Voyages. Then this phase when demand for geography is now established or is now coming up, we call this as the pre-classical phase. The pre-classical phase when geography as a subject now looks possible. Geography as a subject, okay, now has a credible argument. कितना कुछ अर्थ के बारे में जान रहे हैं, I must put that into a subject. when geography gets established, okay, we call this as the classical phase. We also call this as the modern phase. Modern word के बहुत meanings है. I'll come back, I'll teach again here. Why is this called as the modern phase? इसमें क्या हुआ? That this modernity is different from what we see as modern today. And why this was not modern, but this was modern. One example of this I said is, यहाँ पर the scholars were able to remove all the fantasy elements in geography. They said कि अब हम imagination कुछ नहीं करेंगे. Whatever we do in geography has to be established through some evidences, established through proper say relatable facts. So that's how geography becomes modern. उसके बाद में the debate starts, and I gave you 4-5 list of debates: determinism, possibilism, human geography, physical geography, the areal differentiation and quantitative revolution, the debate between regional geography and general geography, the debate between behavioral geography and human geography, and so on. Your syllabus is actually here. All syllabus के जो points हैं वो सारे यहीं पर हैं. But this, if you do not know, you can't appreciate some aspects of discussions here. ठीक है, I think this is good, all of you, all fine here. Okay, so if I list down quickly again, so we have the phase of antiquity, we have the phase of the dark ages, okay, along with the contribution of Arabs. We have the age of voyages and Renaissance. We have the pre-classical geography. We have the classical geography, also called as the modern geography, and then we have the debates. Anybody, any questions in this sense of timeline and have an idea? Antiquity, I said, starts 9th, 10th century BC, 3rd or 4th century BC. The Dark Ages का exact time है नहीं, but most agree it was probably 300 AD, some say 500 AD, some say 200 AD, later maybe 800 AD tak. Some say no, it was as late as 1200 AD, 1000 AD. Okay, so this is a debate on exactly what was the time. So in short, 4, 5, 6 centuries ka the world, and this, remember, Dark Ages is in reference to, the Dark Age is in reference to the West European world. It's a very Eurocentric thinking, because Dark Age pura world nahi tha. We had the Byzantine Empire, we had the Chinese Empire, the Indian philosophies there. It was not dark for the whole world. But yes, post-Roman, the Romans are over, the Catholic Church takes over, then becomes a kind of dark age for European empires. And the Arabs, same time mein Arab chal raha hai. Most of Arab contributions have happened after 600, after 700 AD, and goes on for the entire phase here. Okay, Renaissance happens after the Dark Age ends. Okay, so इसमें भी the debates. Most people agree it may be started from 1300 से लेकर, some say 1700. Basically, till the time we had the Industrial Revolution. 1779 or 1700s was Industrial Revolution. Okay, so ये 200-300 साल. Okay, 400 years approximately. Some say 1400 से 1700. ठीक है, fine. That is called as the Renaissance age of voyages. If you know, Christopher Columbus discovers America in 1492, I think, yes. Vasco da Gama come to India in 1498. Okay, so 1400, late 1300 शुरू हो चुका, the Spaniards are moving. This is the age of voyages. The pre-classical phase, I said, 1600, 1700 is the pre-classical phase. The classical phase, modern phase is early and mid 19th century. They're talking about 1830s, 1840s. And then we have the debates in geography continuing even now. Any doubts in this timeline? Anybody? Any doubts on this? Yes, tell me. It's other way around. What happened with others? Why they stopped acquiring knowledge? Okay, everybody is curious. Everybody is watching, learning. Everybody is traveling. Okay, all traveling. One group says, "हमने ज्ञान acquire कर लिया. We are at epitome. Whatever we had to know is in our religious book." It's not the Arabs are doing something more. It's the other group saying we don't want any more knowledge. Arabs are वैसे भी Arabs हो, Greeks हो, okay, they have been travelers, they have been traders, caravan, and somewhere even the rise of Islam kind of gave some confidence to Arabs that they can organize themselves a bit more better. So that gives them that courage to let's go out and explore. Okay, partly as a part of their agenda of spreading the religion also. But Arabs extra kuch kar nahi rahe the. The Europeans which were doing more, now they are holding themselves back. And we said Arabs, at that time even Chinese are doing their bit. There is a Silk Route, there is a Trans-Saharan trade route, wo sab chal raha hai. The Europeans say ki okay, now no more knowledge, anything that militates with our ideas of Christianity, ideas of Jesus Christ or Bible, all that is blasphemy. So they held themselves back rather than the Arabs doing something different, extraordinary. Western Arabs have been there. They have been there, they have been ruling, they have been conquering, they have been traveling. That's how it goes on. Yes, I said dry regions hai. Okay. Dry regions hai. Jahan bhi dry regions hoga, people will be travelers. People will be traders. So that adds to, if you look at, for example, India mein, Marwadis and Gujarati population. Okay. They are very well spread across the world, right? Because dry regions mein, their main job is trading. Okay. That's how they are spread across the world, across India. So by nature, they will be more adventurous, they'll be more exploratory. The same thing for Arabs. Renaissance was influenced by what elements? There is no one particular event essay, Achal. Essentially, somebody and some people decide that no more of church domination anymore. Okay, now we want to know the world, and again, trade contributes to it. Okay, so Venice, Genoa, Florence, yes, trade centers, and that's where that idea of breaking free of religious dogmas starts off. Just keep them as debates. They're not really extensions. Initially, yes, extensions honge. Uske baad something else happens. Professionalism phase is essentially when geography becomes a proper subject. When geography is seen as a credible subject in its own right. We call that as professionalism. Is it right to say dominance of Arabs in Indian Ocean forced Europeans? इतना ज्ञान क्यों? बस, okay, भाई इतने रखो. आप जो कह रहे हो सही कह रहे हो, but वो geography में हम नहीं घुसेंगे अभी. That's all. Okay, fine, all of you here. So let's now take up some details. Take a fresh page. Now I'll take up each phase and detail it. So what you do is, say if this is your page here, ये page है, या तो आप 3 column ऐसे कर लो along the height, or maybe write like this, that's your choice. But I want 3 columns. 3 columns. In the first one, I want the name of, okay, this is the age. This is the age. What are the contributors? What did they say? What was the contribution? Maybe let's do it again. So if I've got 3 columns, we'll talk about what age is this, and who is the contributor, name of the person. The second will be what is the contribution, and third is what is its implication and significance. I want the second column to be a bit more broader. Okay? So be with me, धीरे-धीरे आप समझ जाओगे how to manipulate. Any case, back in your room, your synopsis must be a bit more organized. The first column is the age, the time, and who are the contributors. What did they say? Who are the name of the people? The second column is what is the contribution? क्या कहा उन्होंने? And the third one is उसका implication क्या है? This implication, and the first one can be the narrower one. You can just keep about say 2 inch types here. Okay, and this one can be a bit more broader. I'll have more facts and details in this. Can I move on now, all of you? Chalo, we start off with the Greeks. The Greeks. Greeks, the first person you should know is this man called Homer. Homer, 9th, 10th century BC. And Homer, okay, जैसे Indian tradition history में we have the contributions of Vedyas, the contributions of Valmiki, okay, who compiled, who wrote Ramayana and Mahabharata. वैसे ही Homer in the Greek tradition is like their Valmiki or their Vedyas. Just as we have our religious books Mahabharata and Ramayana, वैसे ही Homer wrote a book called as the Iliad. It's kind of a significant work there, Iliad. And his Iliad, he has described places, he has described climates, he has described winds. Okay, so Homer wrote a book called as Iliad. It's like a encyclopedia, like a large collection of facts in which he has described places, described the climate of different locations. Okay, and talks about winds. He talks about people. He talks about empires. They say, if you know about this famous war called as the War of Troy, सुना आपने? The Helen of Troy, the War of Troy, okay, where Milanus, there's some king there, a young prince called Paris, he takes this young beautiful lady called Helen, and the big war happened. That Battle of Troy is mentioned in his book called Iliad. And in this book, he describes places with continuous darkness, places with continuous daylight. He talks about west wind, east wind. Okay, so it's a book that has descriptions of places, climates. Okay. Then I said, very specifically I mentioned that this book has descriptions of places with continuous darkness and continuous night time. Maybe he's referring to the polar locations. I hope you know poles में ऐसे होता है. Like what we call as the white night. White night means रात के 12 बजे, 1-3 बजे it's bright. It's like a full sun shining. If you go to summers in parts of Britain, Europe, the sun set होता है रात के 10-11 बजे. And it's pretty bright there. And if it doesn't set at all, we call that as bright light or white night बोलते हैं इसको. Okay. Now, interesting thing, Homer was a blind man. Okay. So, I mean, that's why the Greeks consider him as godly. Okay. They think that he had divine powers, whatever. So, what we think is, Greece was center of trade. And a lot of people must have been traveling there. So, maybe Homer got to talk to people. And people may have described about places where they have come from. The people must have described some locations that they had witnessed. And then he developed something around that. Homer talks about the earth from a perspective called as Ionian view. Okay. Homer describes the earth from a school of thought called as Ionian view. What is Ionian view of earth? Okay, basically it says that there is a land, there are pillars, the pillars hold the sky, the stars are embedded on the roof, there is a sun, the sun rises and so all is water. The sun comes out of water, moves and then goes and sinks in the water. It cools down, then moves inside the water and the next day again the sun rises. ये जो view of earth है is called as the Ionian view of earth. There is a sea in the Mediterranean called as the Ionian Sea. Okay, and around Ionian Sea some civilizations have existed. So those people had this idea. The earth is a flat surface, land, and the sky is held by pillars, and the stars are embedded in the sky, and the sun rises from the oceans is called as the world ocean. From the ocean, rise up, it blazes, bright light, it again sinks in the world ocean and again comes out the other side. So rise in the east, set in the west. इस व्यू को बोलते हैं द आयोनियन. जैसे बहुत सारे व्यूज हैं, आयोनियन व्यू है, पाइथागोरन व्यू है, कोपरनिकन व्यू है. सो होमर वाज ऑफ द आयोनियन व्यू ऑफ द अर्थ. आई जस्ट वांट द की वर्ड्स इन योर नोट्स, दैट्स ऑल. देयर विल बी नो क्वेश्चंस ऑन दिस, बट यू कैन यूज इट इफ यू आर स्मार्ट. Okay, now the significance of ये जो approach of geography है, okay, this approach of geography, the third column में, is called as the descriptive approach. It's also called as the historical approach. It's also called as literary approach in geography. And remember, all of this is part fact and it is part fiction. Part fact and part fiction. ठीक है? This approach where वो लिख document करे. Imagine when Kalidasa writes Meghdut. Okay? So Meghdut story तो है ultimately. And Meghdut is describing Indian seasons, describing the places, describing the princes. So while describing, he's talking about India's climate. He talks about India's vegetation. He talks about Indian places. So this is a type of a literary tradition in geography. Where you go to a place and describe the place. This is the descriptive approach in geography. The historical approach in geography is also called as the literary approach in geography. इसका opposite होगा the mathematical approach. Okay, the analytical approach in geography. This is the initial geography of the earth, which is part fact, part fiction, with some facts here. In fact, one of the most famous descriptions in this Iliad is about a man called as Odysseus. Odysseus was a very famous warrior. He was part of the Battle of Troy. In fact, Odysseus is the main brain behind how Troy was defeated finally. When सुना है story of wooden horse. ये सारा brain Odysseus का था. Odysseus is known as a very cunning man, very sharp, brilliant man, but of course here he had the ethics also. So Odysseus, after war gets over, he's going back to a place called as Ithaca. And because of storm, his ships are lost. And he's traveling for 20 years. And ये book में ये सारा description है. Describing how Odysseus was traveling. The wind was troublesome. The ship lost their course. For 20 years, Odysseus travels. And the travel is documented in the book called as Iliad. So Iliad primarily is the story of this man called Odysseus. ठीक है? So he's traveled to a place called as Ithaca. I-T-H-A-C-A. Ithaca. Yeah, correct, Shadab, the Trojan horse. Correct. This description is like one story of a man and how he travels and while traveling, what all he sees? What all he sees are essentially details of some place in around Greece. Like that's about Homer and his contributions. All done, all of you? Okay. The next person you are supposed to know is, now see, this is, let's not be judgmental here. Okay. In fact, if you ask me, this was the religion of Greece. Okay. This was the religion of the Romans, their gods, their imaginations, their details. When we are not linked to that place, हम जब बाहर से देख रहे हैं तो बड़ा absurd लग रहा है ना हमें, क्या ही बोल रहे हैं, अर्थ फ्लैट सरफेस, a pillar है, a sky है, but that was the religion, understand that. Okay, I'm sure a lot of people look back to us and our belief and our thought, they find us as ridiculous. Okay, you are looking at a culture from outside. आपको उतना ही strange लगेगा. It's just that, when we live with a culture and we grow with it, okay, we don't see the absurdities. I was reading some book. In that discourse, one man asked the other person, what do you know about the gods? Other old man, a very wise man, he says, I do not know anything about the gods. All I know is I am an insignificant ant in the floor of a forest. And once in a while, a leaf shades me and I feel good. I don't know if you understand the philosophy here. Okay. Life is, in the universe creation, very insignificant. हम क्या ही जानते हैं, God, universe, okay, but we claim to know everything. And once in a while, when we have respite, we think God has done that. Maybe God has done that, who knows? This man says, I don't know anything about God. All I know is I'm an ant, an insignificant tiny ant in that forest with great diversity, and once in a while, a leaf shades me. Okay, so while we may be cynical, let's not be judgmental. आप जब अपने आप अपने belief systems को देखोगे objectively, you'll find really ridiculous ideas that we have lived and survived with. Okay, so let's have the wisdom to acknowledge that. Anyways, that's about Homer. The next people are again Greeks में ही है, a man called as Thales and a man called as Anaximander. They live in a place called as Miletus. Miletus is a small trading town in Greece. There is a river called as Menendres River. Okay, a river Menendres है, वो अभी भी उसके remnants हैं. उसके mouth में a place called as Miletus. We always say Thales of Miletus or Anaximander of Miletus. Now these two people, okay, they started using maps. They started drawing meridians. What's a meridian? Meridian is essentially, okay, the longitude reference for locating places. And this is very early days, जब maps बनना शुरू हो रहा था. So these people have tried making a map of Greece. They tried making the map of the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, a map making का मतलब क्या है? They'll use calculations, mathematics. Okay, they are known to have used an instrument called as gnomon. Gnomon is something like a sundial. Sundial to see the sun ka elevation, altitudes, the time. So Thales and Anaximander, they are map makers. They are drawing meridians for reference of locating places. Okay, they are making maps of ancient Greeks. They're making maps of the Mediterranean Sea. and they use an instrument called as the gnomon. This gnomon, इसका एक और form है, is also called as astrolabe. It is a very important instrument for voyages, and some say that they got gnomon or astrolabe maybe from Arab travelers. देखो Arab में Arabia, where you have got monotony of relief, where सब sandy sand है. If I am in parts of India, I know यहाँ पर river है. Okay, walk along the right bank of the river. The mountain here. Walk facing the mountain. There's a coast here. Walk towards the coast. Okay, so I have got landscape for reference to find my ways. If I say go to the market and come back, the mental में है ना, I'll go to the market. On the reference side, I have a park. If I go straight, I'll have a small square. If I go straight, I'll have a turn from there. So I've got references along which I can walk. But think of a desert. No mountains, no rivers, no seas, miles and miles of endless sands. वहां पर आप कैसे travel करोगे? The only way of traveling is look at the stars, look at the sun, study the winds maybe. So when they are traveling using these instruments. उनका वो मजबूरी है. Okay, and they develop the techniques of trigonometry because they're studying the location of stars. रात में stars position देखेंगे, they do some calculation, jottings, okay, I must go in this direction. So the Arab travelers were very advanced in these kind of systems, okay, which they may have brought to Greece, and these guys have used it to make meridians and the maps. So this type of approach, so in geography, this is the beginnings of the mathematical tradition. Okay, this is the beginnings of map making tradition. Geography is also about maps. Map making tradition. We call this map making culture as cartography. So Homer was the beginnings of the literary tradition. Okay, and Thales and Alexander are the beginnings of, okay, the cartographic tradition. Okay, somebody writes the books and somebody is making maps, drawing longitude, meridians, and trying to travel. Okay, find ways how to plot the earth a bit more objectively. Okay, the name of the contributor, they are Greeks. Okay, what they have done and what it means eventually. Okay, the third person. Third is a man called as Hecataeus. Haceateus. Hecataeus. Now Hecataeus, he wrote a book called as Geographia. He wrote a book called as Hesperidos. It is like an encyclopedia of places around Greece and the then known world. Hesperidos, Gesperidos. He wrote a book called Hesperidos. It is like an encyclopedia, a compilation of a lot of facts. Encyclopedia about Greece and the then known world. The known world is largely around Greece. Hesperidos. अच्छा, ये जो approach है, where you write about a place, okay, details of one place, we call this as a regional approach. This is the beginnings of a regional approach in geography. So मैंने बताया था आपको, remember, as a paper 2 is a regional geography of India. Why? Because I am studying India in detail. The region called India हम पढ़ रहे हैं. So it is paper 2 is the regional geography of India. वैसे ही this was a book about the details of Greece, the beginnings of the regional approach. So one approach was the literary approach of Homer. One approach was the mathematical tradition, map making of Thales and Alexander, and this is called as the regions approach in geography. You can trace regions. Yes, ये सारे Greeks हैं, correct, Bhumika. All of them are Greeks. Homer, Thales, Anaximander, Hecataeus, all of them are Greeks. Okay. Now, something like Hecataeus is another man called as Herodotus. Again, a very big traveler. Herodotus, Herodotus. Again, a traveler, and he wrote a book called as Geographica, which again is a book that describes the locations around the Mediterranean Sea. Okay. It's a book called as Geographica, and it is a description of places around the Mediterranean Sea. And while doing this, Herodotus has lot of details on the tribes, the cultures, कौन रहते हैं, उनके क्या practices हैं. He called some people as barbarians. The word barbarian basically means what? People who are uncultured, outsiders. Okay, so he called some tribes as barbarians. Okay, that's his. Okay, but he has studied tribes. Okay, studied tribes, people. Okay, so this approach is also an example of a regional approach, because he talks about region around the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, regions approach, and this is also one of the first books on ethnic diversity. This is something like the human geography. It's talking about people now. In fact, this man is also called as the first ethnographer. It's called as the first ethnographer. Barbarians, the tribes, and he is describing the cultures of the tribes, and he makes references to people who he calls as barbarians, as in outsiders. So, ये जो approach है, this again is a regions approach. This talks about a place. ये सारा geography का part है. And in this, he is studying ethnicity, tribes, cultures. So we call Herodotus as one of the first ethnographers. Okay, he is among the first to introduce something like your study of human geography. Yes, correct. And Herodotus is also known to have studied history and geography together. He was able to link between history and geography. I gave one question for your telegram a couple of days ago. What are the geographical factors in the development of empires in ancient India? What geographical factors in development of history of ancient India? कहाँ rivers थे? कहाँ पर iron ore था? Where did we have forest? Where did we have soils, agriculture? Where did we have mountain passes? So this man is linking history and geography together. In fact, he made a very powerful statement. He said, all history must be studied geographically and all geography must be studied historically. Okay, again, quote unquote maybe. According to Herodotus, all history must be studied geographically and all geography must be studied historically. All history must be studied geographically and all geography must be studied historically. ये बाद में फिर important हो जाए. When we talk about geopolitics, I will refer this man called Herodotus. ठीक है? So we have the contributions of Hecataeus and Herodotus. अच्छा. Next person is Plato. The next person is Plato. I think all have heard about him, a philosopher. Now Plato, okay, he is among the first person to give the idea of Earth is spherical. He talked about the universe as a geocentric universe. He talked about how man can impact and destroy nature. He studies a place called as Attica. Attica is one of the ancient settlements of Athens. The first man to talk about Earth is spherical. He talks about geocentric universe. He talks about man can impact and destroy nature. He talks about a place called as Attica. Attica is an ancient settlement of Athens. And he said, Attica was once fertile. And Attica was once prosperous. But because of human activities, Attica is now reduced to barren land. Attica, he says, a place was once fertile. Attica was once prosperous location. Attica had agriculture, but because of human activities, because of how we use the land, the water, we have destroyed the soil erosion, and now Attica is a barren land. It's no longer as fertile. So this is an example of that man can impact nature. Man can destroy the perfection of nature. अच्छा, ये जो idea है, इसमें दो तीन concepts हैं. Now, when Plato said Earth is spherical, he gave a reason which he called as it is because of a divine purpose. It is because of some God's design. Why is Earth spherical? He says because this is how God has planned it. Why is spherical? Because it is the design of God. ये जो approach है, इसको बोलते हैं teleological approach. Teleological approach, where everything is argued on the basis of a divine purpose. We call this as teleological. So why did I fall down? There is a God's purpose because of which I fell down. Why did somebody die? It God ka design hai because of which he died. So when you attribute anything to divine power or some purpose which is beyond your control, we call that as teleological. And when something is teleological, you can't control it. It's beyond your control. This approach ko we also called as teleological determinism. As in, things are determined by some external factor, and in this case it is God. It's also called as teleological determinism. One example of how Plato proved Earth is spherical. He said, God is perfect. God is perfect. God will make perfect things. God has no flaws. And the perfect shape in nature is spherical. Why? Because in spherical shapes, you have the maximum volume in the minimum surface area. So spherical is most efficient space, the shape. So if God is perfect, God will make perfect shapes. And God made Earth. Earth has to be spherical. I hope you got the point here. It's like a logical reasoning. He is not saying random. He starts with yes. एक divine power है. But then he's logically interpreting. Is like the mother will love the child. Because mother will love the child, mother will try correcting and disciplining the child. Because of which the mother can also be harsh, mother can seem to be cruel, but fundamentally it's for the child's welfare. ये भी logical हुआ ना ये वाला. Okay, so Plato is a logical thinker. Plato is not a fantasy नहीं है, remember this. He is a logical thinker. A logical thinker is scientific. But his science has the roots of teleology. It's possible for a man to be scientific and he believes in some divine powers. So, ये वो वाला school of thought है. The geography is controlled by divine powers. There is a teleological approach to understanding geography. And Plato is an example of that. ठीक है? So, Earth is spherical and all of this, the concept of teleology in Plato studies. और ये जो idea है that man can destroy, this is one example of the earth and man ka interaction. One example of what we call as destructive role of man in environmentalism. The study is about earth and man interaction, and in this interaction man has a destructive role. Man can destroy the perfections of nature. What we got from God is perfect. The best earth, the best climate, the best forests, the best water. And human activities can destroy the perfection of nature. Okay, this is an example of the destructive role of man in environmentalism. So I'll come back. ये syllabus का part है environmentalism. So Plato is one type of environmentalism where man by nature is a destructive force. Is it okay, all of you? So Plato and his contributions and how they are part of some geographical thinking. Yeah, I know, yes. Satyam, is it okay now? Sunena, is it okay now? Yeah? If you miss out something, ask me. Okay. और इसमें कुछ ज़्यादा समझने का नहीं है. You just know the facts, the names, and I'm building up. Actually important the third column है. The third column will give you a lot of content to discuss later on. ठीक है? Ultimately, I'm mapping all of this. The syllabus I will teach eventually. The first, let us know what the contributions are. Okay. That's the Plato's work. The next person is Aristotle. The next person is Aristotle, another Greek philosopher. Aristotle was the student of Plato. In fact, before I go on, in the Western world, in the times of Roman Empire, or even times of the Greek Empire, a very important place was Alexandria in Egypt. The Egyptian civilization, the Nile Valley civilization, very, very prosperous economy, very, very prosperous agriculture, a land of riches, gold, agriculture, trade. Okay, and Alexandria was a very important center, and everybody wanted to control Alexandria. The Romans ka power, Julius Caesar, the power came from when he started conquering Alexandria. The same for the Greeks. The same for Alexander also. In fact, Alexandria was ultimately named after Alexander. Right? So Alexandria was a very important center, or trade center bhi tha. And Alexandria had lot of scholars, traders coming there. So Alexandria developed a very large library. It's called as the Library of Alexandria. And back then, I mean, people were as wise to say that wisdom is knowledge, power is knowledge, anybody who controls Alexandria controls the world. This was the notion. And anybody who was the custodian of Alexandria was a very powerful man, sometimes powerful than the king also. And these were the custodians of Alexandrian library. Okay, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, ये सब Alexandria library के keepers थे. So very learned people, and they are like a lineage. Plato's student was Aristotle. His student was a man called as Eratosthenes. So because of that, Alexandria was a very powerful center, and these people had great positions. The Dark Age came in, Alexandria was destroyed first. Remember, this will be always the pattern of people trying to dominate. When people come to power, the king, for example, he'll come to power fighting some wars. Slowly, gradually, he'll try to shut down all dissidents. कि कोई भी challenge करेगा उसको मार दो. No opposition. Then slowly, to establish more power, he'll start talking about how he is held by God. फिर धीरे धीरे he'll declare he is God himself. And anybody who challenges God will again be killed. And who will challenge God? Academics will challenge God. Who will challenge God? Books will challenge God, right? So एक step होगा to destroy academics. So when the Dark Age started, the king started challenging all science. Church starts challenging all science. One consequence is Alexandria was burnt down. And the Arabs वो तब rise कर रहे थे. They took the books of Alexandria and they preserved it. They translated it. And the center of learning then became Baghdad. Until again Baghdad was destroyed by the invasions. So Aristotle as the keeper of Alexandria was a very important man. And Aristotle, he also was a teleologist like Plato. He was also a logical thinker. He also promoted a scientific learning. Aristotle was also a teleologist like Plato. That yes, there is a divine power that controls things. But he also was a logical thinker. He was a man of science. In fact, he gave the first scientific proof of why Earth is spherical. He gave the first scientific proof of why Earth is spherical. So when you asked Plato, why do you say Earth is spherical? What Plato said? He began with, God made Earth. God is perfect. God makes Earth, so Earth has to be perfect. Therefore, Earth is a sphere. Big logical way hai. This man said, okay, that's one way. Another way is, look at, the solar eclipse. Look at the lunar eclipse. Right? The shapes are always spherical shape, which means the celestial bodies are all spherical. Why should Earth be an exception? Look at how the ships comes towards the shore. You first see the flag, then you see the mast, then you see the hull, isn't it? ये आपने स्कूल में पढ़ा होगा, right? This is your a person standing here. So what does the person see first? He first sees the flag, then he sees the mast, and then he sees the ship. If Earth was flat, then a man should have seen the entire ship at one go. Because Earth spherical है, तो पहले ये दिखता है, फिर mast दिखता है, फिर ship दिखता है. These are examples of again logical reasoning. This evidence was given by Aristotle. So Aristotle proved Earth is spherical using logical arguments. This approach is also called as inductive approach in geography or in science in general. It's called as inductive approach. Inductive approach का main philosophy होता है look for a specific evidences before concluding. Look for a specific evidences before you conclude anything. His philosophy of science was go and see. या बैठे बैठे कुछ मत बोलो, जाके देख के आओ. So go explore. Okay. Go and validate. Go and document. ठीक है? We call this as an inductive approach in scientific study. In fact, often it is said that Alexander, as a student of Aristotle, was inspired by this idea. If you recall, Alexander did not annex land to his kingdom, not much. He did, of course, but not too much. He would go, fight a war, win the war, give the kingdom back to the king, and then move ahead. Okay, go there, fight a war, win the war, make a strong army, supply strong karo, kingdom ko wapas king ko de do, with more power, again move ahead. That's how we keep on moving. It is said, I mean, people dispute this, said that Aristotle inspired this of Alexander. He said, आपका purpose यही है to know the world. You are born, your purpose teleological. तुम्हारा purpose है to know the world. So go and see the world. And that's how, okay, Alexander traveled across Persia, across parts of Asia. He went as far as a place in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan का capital जानते हैं क्या है? Kazakhstan capital is a place called Astana. Before Astana, एक और capital था, called as Almaty. A-L-M-A-T-I, Almaty. Almaty is short form of Alexander Altima, the northernmost point up till where Alexander had gone. So he has traveled as far. It is said, Aristotle inspired this for Alexander. Go and see. जाके देख के आओ. Go and see, come and tell me what you have seen. I'll document, I'll study, and so on. So this approach of Aristotle is also a very important part of geographical studies. Go and see studies. यहाँ बैठ के don't generalize. Go explore voyages and document the details of the earth. So inductive reasoning, okay, is essentially a look for a specific evidences before concluding. Look for specific evidences before concluding. ठीक है, आज आप कर ही रहे हैं. Let me explain these two approaches. One is called as the deductive approach. Okay. Another is called as an inductive approach. इस अप्रोच में क्या करते हैं? We first make a law. We first make a generalization. And then we search for evidences in support. Okay. And if there are, okay, and if there are deviations, we modify, and we will give new generalizations. एक method of study है. I repeat, I will first make a law. I will first make a generalization. Okay. Then I will search for evidences. I will look for how to prove it. While searching, if I find deviations, then I will modify the law and again look for evidences. It goes on. Let me give an example to you. I make a law. Every poor man is sad. How do I make this? I have no own thinking. I made some idea, मैंने बना दिया. Every poor man is sad. I start looking. Okay, a poor man, are you sad, happy? I'm sad. Poor man, are you sad, happy? I'm sad. I keep on looking. Then I find somebody who's a poor man but not sad. Then I look, ऐसे और की examples हैं. Then I study. Then I find, yes, poor man is sad if he has no hope. Right? I make it. So a poor man who has hope, who can see opportunities, is not a sad man. He is a industrious working man. तो मैंने law को अपना modify किया. Every poor man who does not have hope is sad. I look for evidences. Then I find every poor man who doesn't have hope, but there are people supporting him, ultimately can also become happy. So I make a new law. I say every poor man who has lost hope and who has no support, he is more unhappy. I hope you got the point what I'm doing here. So I make generalizations. I keep on testing my hypothesis. And as I find new things, I keep on modifying. Okay. That is one technique of scientific study. This is different. In this one, I will look for specifics first. I will look for evidences first, and then I will make a law. इसमें पहले लॉ बनाते हैं, उसके बाद एविडेंस खोजते हैं एंड कीप मॉडिफाइंग. इसमें क्या है? आई लुक फॉर ऑल एविडेंसेस एंड देन आई विल मेक अ लॉ. इट्स लाइक पुअर मैन हैप्पी है कि नहीं मुझे नहीं पता. आई विल गो एंड सर्च पुअर मैन हैप्पी, पुअर मैन हैप्पी, पुअर मैन अनहैप्पी, अनहैप्पी. आई विल मेक अ टेबुलेशन and then I'll find the majority of the poor men are unhappy. Therefore, my law is, if you are poor, you are unhappy. I hope you got the point here. So I can start from what is general. I can move towards particular. In this case, I start from particular. I will move towards general. Okay, so inductive method is start from particular. Sun is sphere, Moon is sphere, Venus is sphere, Mars is sphere, Uranus is sphere. I study thousands of them and then I make a law. All celestial bodies are spherical. Okay, so I start from particular. I start from specific and then I make a law, generalization. Okay. I hold a ball, drop it, it fell down. Go to a place, Agra, hold a ball, drop it, it fell down. Go to London, hold a ball, drop it, it fell down. I do this for all places and then I'll say, okay, at any place on earth, if you drop a ball, it will fall down. That's my law. So I start from specific and then I make a general law. We call that as inductive. Aristotle was here. And this approach was Plato's approach. See how Plato said it. वो शुरू करते हैं लॉ से. God is perfect. ये लॉ बन गया ना आपका. God is perfect. God made earth. Because God is perfect and God will make a perfect shape, therefore earth is spherical. He starts from a general idea, comes towards specific. Whereas for Aristotle, all celestial bodies are spherical, therefore earth must also be spherical. Okay. Every time I see a ship, I always see the flag first, the mast next, the body next. Therefore earth must be spherical. दोनों वही कर रहे हैं conclude. But the approach of how they argue is different. So inductive method, okay, is from specifics towards law. Deductive is from law towards the specific. So I remember this is a common mnemonic है, DGP. Deductive is From general towards particulars. आप बताओ इन दोनों में which looks to be more scientific? First or second? Right, isn't it? That without concluding anything, I study every instance and then make a law. But ये possible है क्या? Is it possible to study every instance then make a law? Possible है? No. So in actual science, we do actually this, not this. Even if this is more superior, because impossible होता है. If you are doing a PhD research, you know how it starts? आप पहले अपना hypothesis submit करोगे. Then I want to do a research in environment. Okay. Then the guide will ask you, बताओ आपका hypothesis क्या है पहले बताओ. My hypothesis is wherever there's climate change, there is loss of forests and soil, and therefore people will migrate. If the guide likes the hypothesis, he will say, okay, now research starts. Now go and search for data. You come across data कि नहीं, something else happens, I'll modify my hypothesis. So in actual scientific study, research में, we follow this one. You first give a law, then you search evidences. अगर आपको deviations मिलेगा, modify the law, again the search starts. So even if this is superior, this is the more preferred way, not this one. इसको आप कर नहीं पाओगे, understand this. There are billions and zillions of evidences. Okay, how can you start with this? So we always start with the hypothesis. We look at evidences. जब वो prove हो जाता है, then I call that as a theory. So hypothesis is more like an idea. An idea based on whatever experience we have, and that develops into a proper theory eventually. No, Nikhil, I won't classify like that. Okay, but ये भी एक approach है. Both of them are scientific approaches. Okay, so Aristotle is considered as the father of inductive approach, whereas Plato is considered as the father of deductive. ये add कर लो. In the Plato's discussion, add Plato is the father of deductive approaches. Yes, tell me. Come again. Inductive is? Deductive has roots inductive. Yes, not wrong. Before you make a law, deductive method is you make a law and then you are looking for specific. But ये law किसी ना किसी के basis पे हुआ होगा. Maybe there are 1000 instances, मैं 2-3 देखकर law बना दिया. Yes, you're not wrong. Okay, so you start with some inductive approach, but then you don't validate completely. You saw one instance, second instance, I made a law. Then I'll move on. Yes, in that sense, yes. So the beginnings of inductive, beginnings of deductive has some roots in the inductive approach. Not wrong. Okay, anybody else here? Okay, so that's Aristotle. Now one more fact of Aristotle is, now Aristotle ने एक और काम किया था. He had studied human nature and personality as a product of climate. He studied human nature and human personality as the product of climate. He said people who come from hot areas, deserts, are always short-tempered. People who come from very cold latitudes are very quiet, almost lazy. And the people who come from Greece, best of deserts, best of the cold areas. The people of Greece are the perfect human beings. Okay. I mean, this is an example of ethnocentric thinking also. हमेशा हमारा अपना गांव बेस्ट लगता है, राइट? ओके, जो गांव के इधर रहते हैं घटिया लोग, गांव के इधर रहते हैं सब पापी लोग, एंड आई एम मिक्स ऑफ, थोड़ा घटिया थोड़ा पापी कट जाता है, एंड देयरफॉर आई एम गॉडली. ओके, सो एरिस्टोटल आल्सो वाज अ बिट ऑफ दिस. ओके, बट ये जो आइडिया है दैट एनवायरमेंट कैन शेप ह्यूमन एस्पेक्ट्स, दिस इज कॉल्ड एज environmental determinism. The environment can shape human aspects. Environment can shape human responses. We call that as environmental determinism. ये अपने आप में एक school of thought है. I'll be back on this. Shadab, I cannot go that deep into that concept. Okay. Aristotle. Okay, and इसका एक example है. One example of this is, he said that at the equator it is so hot that it is not habitable. An example of environmental determinism. Environmental determinism बोलते हैं इसको. It basically means, okay, environment determines whatever we do. Why can't I live in equator? Because it's hot. Okay, so equator is not habitable because of the climate. Okay, so in geography, when studying man-environment relationship, ये भी एक डिबेट है. Does environment impact man or does man impact environment? ये जो school of thought है, it's about environment impacts man. Our personality is the product of environment or climate, and habitability is also the product of environment and climate. So Aristotle is one of the examples of environmental determinism. Achha. Now, in contrast, if I go back to Plato, then Plato says man can destroy the nature. ये क्या है? Does environment impact man or man impact environment? Man impacting environment. तो ये है determinism का opposite है. Okay. So back to Plato again. Okay. So ये जो idea है, the Attica was once fertile and man has destroyed it. This is an example of man impacting environment. Example of man impacting environment. ठीक है, तो कुछ ग्रे एरियाज है. ओके, सो essentially is man a free agent? What it means? Can man do what he wants to do? Can man shape things? Okay, if I go by Aristotle, no, man is a function of nature. Okay, ये डिबेट है ना. Is man a free agent? Can man, okay, escape nature? Can man escape the environment? If I go by Aristotle, no, man is a function of the nature. Where man will live, climate determines. What will man do? Climate determines. If I ask Plato, there is no, nature is a function of what man does. ठीक है? So in the two schools of thought, is man a free agent? So for Aristotle, no. For Plato, yes, but a catch hai. Ultimately, Plato says man is a function of divine power. Remember teleology? So if I go by teleology, man is not free. Whatever I do is the design of the God. So Plato में दोनों एलिमेंट है. Okay, one aspect says man is not free. What man does is a function of divine power. And उसी breath में बोल रहे हैं man is also capable of impacting environment. I hope you got the point, all of you here. So maybe back to Plato again and write 2 lines there. Back to Plato, 2 lines there. Plato is a teleological determinist. Plato is teleological determinist, but is not environmental determinist. Plato is teleological determinist, but is not environmental determinist. Unlike Aristotle, okay? For Aristotle, he is both. He is also teleological and is also environmental determinist. So what does this word determinism mean? It essentially means whatever man does, is it the consequence of what man chooses, or is it a consequence of externally determined factors? Okay. Whatever I do is what I want to do. Whatever I do is what my mind tells me to do. Whatever I do, it's my free will. For me, everything is possible. Okay. Whatever I am doing, determined by God. Whatever I do, determined by environment. Okay. So if a man has the choice of what he wants to do with endless possibilities, we call this school as possibilism. But if what man does is determined by other factors, we call this school as determinism. अब ठीक है, maybe in a box side में लिख लो, whatever. Okay, so this is one of the debates in man environmental interaction. Whatever man does, whether man chooses. If man chooses, then there is endless possibilities. We call this as a school of possibilism. Whereas if what man does is externally determined, okay, in this case, man is not in control. Man is like a slave. Man is reacting to factors outside him. We call this as determinism. Okay. If man can choose what he wants to do with endless possibilities, I call this as possibilism. I am just introducing the words. हम आपको पूरा 1-1.5 क्लास पढ़ाएंगे ये वाला क्या है. But you have the word called possibilism क्या मीनिंग है and the word called determinism का क्या मीनिंग है. The Aristotle is an example of environmental determinism. Plato is an example of teleological determinism. But Plato के works में we also see some element of possibilism. There was a man called Cresel, Kriesel. Cresel called Plato as a crypto-possibilist. Basically means छुपा हुआ है. On the face, he looks like he is determinist, but he is a crypto. Crypto means what? Hidden. Okay. So Cresel, Kriesel, Cresel, okay, considered Plato as a crypto, Krypto, crypto possibilist. As in possibilism जो okay, दिखता नहीं है. Why? Because he said man can destroy the perfection of the nature. Man is responsible for destroying okay, the beauty and the fertility of the place called as Attica. All good, all of you? Online, offline. Are you keeping pace with me, all of you? लिख पा रहे हैं, all of you? Online guys. I hope you have your pen, pencil, paper, okay, and not listening to podcast. ये एक और प्रॉब्लम ऑफ लर्निंग है. वॉचिंग वीडियोस. बिंज वॉच कर लो. एंड ऑफ द बिंज वॉच टायर्ड भी हो, टाइम भी गया, सर कुछ याद नहीं है. So make sure you are noting whatever I am discussing. All good? Concept of first time, you will manage. You better manage, Akash. Choice थोड़ी है आपके पास. Please make my writing more legible. Good point, Nasir. Very good point. Okay. We'll put up a commission on that. We'll debate about it. I'll talk to Trump also about it. You will get used to it, don't worry. You start appreciating the work of art. जो समझ में नहीं आया वो आर्ट होता है. मेरा कुछ आप चेंज नहीं कर सकते. Right? If I could have changed, I would have changed and I would have been a topper. मुझे मार्क्स नहीं आए जब भी मैं पढ़ा रहा हूं. I get the suggestion in every batch. सर साफ लिख लो. मैंने कहा बेटा मेरी मां बोल बोल के थक गई. मेरा जमीर बोल बोल के थक गया अंदर से. शब्बीर सुधर जा, शब्बीर सुधर जा. एक अटेम्प्ट हुआ, एक और टाइम है, सुधर जा. And then I have discovered I have developed grey hair. Okay, can I move on, all of you? So give yourself some time. एक बार Plato Aristotle को देख लो एक बार. What points I gave you, just read through once and see if you want to clarify something. Okay, Preeta, you're being very generous, but happy to have you in class. मुझे पता है बहुत अच्छा पढ़ाता हूं, I know. Okay, but वो बस भगवान अहंकार ना दे. Okay. You know, it's a saying, it says, a teacher is only as good as his student. Okay. So if you are making efforts, okay, if you ask right questions, okay, that's what helps the process. And be patient. Ultimately, सब सीखोगे आप. Any doubts in this? Plato and Aristotle we have discussed a bit more. What is teleology? What is possibilism? What is determinism? The whole idea of inductive methods, the whole idea of deductive methods, both are scientific inquiries. Okay, Aristotle gives us a basis of what science should be like. In fact, चलो पहले रिवाइज कर लो आप. Any doubts? Any doubts here? Okay. Now, in fact, just adding here, Aristotle, okay, he also gave us the principle of scientific learning. He said, anything mein, he said, ask 4 questions. Ask questions about what is the physical characteristics of it. Ask questions about what is it made up of. Ask questions about how was it made, and ask questions about why it was made. He said, ये 4 questions हैं to make something scientific. The first question is, talk about the physical characteristics. मतलब, say I have a remote control here. Physical. This is light. This is white in color. It has a length of maybe 10 centimeters. Average width of maybe 4 centimeters. It is transparent, black adha, white adha. It has some rubber buttons. So I'm describing the physical characteristics. Describe karo. A tree. It is tall. It is green. It is brownish. It stands. It has branches. I'm describing it. Second, what is it made up of? It's made up of plastic. It's made up of iron. It's made up of rubber. It's made up of wood. उसका substance क्या है बताओ? The third question, how was it made? उसका process क्या था? Dyeing, melting plastic, putting in some thing, assembling it together. How was the plant formed? Because of germination, growth, photosynthesis. So, what are the physical characteristics? What is it made up of? How was it made? How was it made is the process that created it. And then why it was made. इसका कुछ purpose होना चाहिए. Something deeper purpose. Deeper purpose is a remote for comfort. उठ के जाना नहीं पड़ेगा. Okay. A remote gives us more control. उसका purpose है. A deeper down purpose is because man wants to be in control of things. Okay. The purpose of tree may be to make oxygen. The purpose of tree, part of the climate regulation. So if you can answer these 4 questions, he says it is science. Okay. And these questions, ultimately they became part of a philosophy called as positivism. ये हम बाद में पढ़ेंगे. These principles of scientific inquiry, okay, they became part of a school of thought. It's called as positivism. Positivism is considered as the root of scientific study. It what makes any study scientific. Okay, so this positivism I will refer to when I start with quantitative revolution. हम वहां पढ़ेंगे इसको. How geography becomes positivist. As long geography में ये नहीं है, geography was more of imagination. When geography brings this, geography becomes a science. ये debate है, is geography a science or not? Is geography more of humanities or is it more of a scientific subject? हम discuss करेंगे. अब geography has some elements of positivism. कृतिका बाद में. Asking me why is it called positivist? Positive का उल्टा क्या होगा? Negative. So what is not science is not negative. What is not science? Your imaginations. What's not science? Your dreams. What's not science? Your speculations. वो negative school, वो negative knowledge है. Because you can't capture that in terms of exact characteristics. ठीक है, but what you can capture is called as positivist. Indian schools have made geography as humanities. Himanshu, कहाँ जा रहे हो? Okay, let's not get there. All fine, all of you? Okay, so I'm done with Aristotle. Okay, before we dig our grave Greece में ही आगे चलते हैं. The next person क्या? Number 6 है, right? Yeah, 5 है क्या? Number 7. Number 7 is this man called as Eratosthenes. It's called as Eratosthenes. He was the disciple of Aristotle. ये उनके student थे. The disciple of Aristotle was Eratosthenes. I'm talking about 3rd century BC now, approximately. He also was a custodian of Alexandria. He was the custodian of Alexandria, Eratosthenes. And this man is supposed to have coined the word geography. The word geography है, geo plus graphen, ये term बनाया कौन? They say it was Eratosthenes. Eratosthenes, he gave us the first definition of geography. He said, geography is the study of earth as the home of man. Geography is the study of earth as the home of man. He coined the word geography and he defined the scope, और ये word अभी भी applicable है, that we study geography for the purpose of knowing the earth and what is it about earth that makes life possible on earth for man. I live on earth because I can do farming. I can do farming because there is water, there is soil. I live on earth because, okay, I'm able to produce goods, industries, because of which, because I have minerals. I live on earth because the climate is conducive for my life. So whatever earth has that makes life for me is how I make my house. Life for me is my economy, my livelihood. The life for me is how I live in groups as a part of urban or rural areas. Life possible is also trading. Life possible is also migrations. So whatever is about the earth that makes life possible in all ways is geography. Geography is not about landform alone. Landform and what does it do to man. Geography is not about ocean currents alone. Ocean currents and what it does to man. तो ये जो approach है, this is geography as a subject of man, environment, relationship. Okay, the third column में, okay, he defined the scope of geography. Geography as man, environment, relationship. Study of earth as the home of man. He defined the scope of geography as man, environment, relationship. And just to elaborate here, see, when I say environment, what does it mean? Environment means anything outside me. So, environment is the climate. Environment is the land I'm standing on. Environment is the river flowing near me. Environment is also you for me. You are my environment. The house you live in is my environment. Okay. So environment can be remembered man-made and also natural. तो ये सब ऐड कर देते हो, it is geography. The man-made environment is roads, buildings, agriculture, and the nature is rivers, forests. This is geography. पूरा geography तो है और क्या है? So Eratosthenes define the scope of geography as the study of man-environment relationships. इसके अलावा Eratosthenes also developed map making techniques. He also was a cartographer. He developed map making techniques. A technique of map making है called as stereoscopic map making. There are stereographic techniques हैं. There are stereographic maps. This technique was developed by Eratosthenes. Okay, and Eratosthenes is a man who classified Earth's climate into tropical hot areas, into mid-latitude temperate areas, and polar frigid areas. The first man to divide the climate of Earth into tropical areas around equator are hot. Okay, mid latitudes are temperate, not very hot, not very cold, and the polar areas are frozen, frigid. Polar areas are frozen or frigid, F-R-I-G-I-D, frigid. They are frigid. Anybody can tell me, what does this mean? Yes. Yes. What does this mean? Anybody can tell me? This means what? What controls climate? What controls climate? Latitudes. Of course, ultimately means sun rays. You move away from equator, it becomes colder. He is among the first man to say this, that climate is a function of latitudes. Yes, Greeks knew about this. एक बार आप जान चुके हो Earth is spherical and Earth has some tilt, then you are on. And the Greeks knew this. Yes, by the time we have Eratosthenes, it was established that the Earth is spherical. Until Dark Age comes and says कि नहीं, ये तो हमारे book में लिखा नहीं है. Okay, so he knew this. The Greeks knew this. Ultimately, it gets dismantled by the Dark Age times. The Eratosthenes, by the Greeks, he is considered as the father of geography. Add कर लो, the third column में लिख लो. Okay, that for Greeks, Eratosthenes is considered as the father of geography. For Greeks, Eratosthenes is the father of geography. All done? See, I don't think they will ask you, write a note on the contributions of the Greeks. Okay. My intention is the third column. The third column is part of syllabus. So when I teach the concepts, I will keep mapping them to what Greeks said, mapping them to what Aristotle said. I'll keep on doing that. Okay. Achal, there are reasons. I will skip that for now. It will take me too much of time. What did he say because of that? So for now we just take it. So Krish, that will come later on. Okay, geography क्या है? It will keep on changing. This is one of the earliest times when somebody is setting the scope of geography. And I'm not saying geography sirf yahi hai, but this is a very important part of geography. And other scholars come, they'll expand the scope of geography. Jaise ki, okay, when I'm saying geography is man-environment relationship, एक debate आएगा, environment कौन है? The environment outside or the environment that you have in your mind about the environment outside? Tree is a tree is a tree. But for me, tree is God also, right? For me, a tree is my emotions. Why? Because my father planted the tree. तो ये tree कोई ordinary tree थोड़ी है. Okay? So environment के अलग-अलग dimensions है. Okay? The tree for the tribal man who lives by it is different. And the tree that a man cuts for making profits, वो अलग है. Okay? So पुष्पा में ट्री अलग है, right? वीरप्पन का ट्री अलग है, मोदी जी ट्री लगाते हैं वो ट्री अलग है, and the drawing that my daughter made when she was 2 years old, what tree looks like, वो भी अलग है. And for all this, I think my daughter's tree is the most beautiful tree I ever saw in my life. Environment के भी dimensions हैं. Okay, so we will expand. Yes, so that becomes your. We might talk about perception issues here. The environment is no longer environment outside alone. Like we say man, who is the man you're talking about? So we'll build on that, don't worry. But this is one of the earliest definitions of what geography was supposed to be. Geography of Eratosthenes was the study of earth as the home of man. In that way, geography, study of man-environment relationships. Can I move on from here, all of you? So this is more or less the list of the Greeks. Take a fresh page. Contributions of Romans. The contributions of Romans. When I come to Romans, we're talking about 1st and 2nd century AD की बात कर रहे हैं. 100 AD, 200 AD की बात कर रहे हैं, 300 AD की बात कर रहे हैं. So 1st and 2nd century AD approximately. And Romans में we have two main people. One man is Ptolemy, a very mysterious man. About him we do not know much. Some say he was a Roman. Some say he was an African Egyptian. Okay, and he acquired Roman identity. Some say he was a slave. Ultimately, he became a great scholar. Okay, so he is mysterious about who he was actually. But Ptolemy, he was one of the greatest map makers. In fact, he is considered as the father of cartography. He wrote a book called as Almagest. Almagest is like an encyclopedia in map making. A book called Almagest. इस Almagest का एक chapter था called as syntaxes. Actually, most of these books have been lost. कुछ chapters बच गए हैं या फिर किसी और किताब में these books have been mentioned. Okay, this is a very famous section called as syntaxes. Syntaxes has a method of map making called as a conical method of map making, जो अभी भी यूज होता है. Most maps you'll find of India are made by conical projections or conical methods. It was given by Ptolemy. So Ptolemy was a map maker. Ptolemy wrote the book Almagest. Okay, this is almost like the encyclopedia of map making. And with Ptolemy, we again have the mathematical and the cartographical tradition in geography. The third column. It is the example of mathematical, example of cartographical. Cartography means map making. Example of cartographical tradition in geography. एक और नाम हमने पहले पढ़ा था. Who are they? Who made maps and who made mathematics important? Remember two people Homer के बाद में, Thales and Anaximander. याद आ रहा है? After that, map making was not as important till Eratosthenes revives it. Okay, so if you are asked a question on mathematical tradition, trace it from Thales and Anaximander. Then you talk about this man called Eratosthenes, and then you talk about Ptolemy. But Ptolemy is more profound. He's called as the father of cartography. Okay, map maker, Ptolemy. Achha. This was one contributor. The second contributor is Strabo. Strabo, S-T-R-A-B-O, Strabo. Now, Strabo, he wrote a book called as Geographia. In some books, they write as Geographica, same thing, no worries. A book called Geographia or a book called Geographica, whatever, it is a 17-volume encyclopedia on Asia, on Europe, and on Africa. A 17-volume encyclopedia on Asia, on Europe, and on Africa. Okay, so this is an example of, again, literary tradition. An example of, again, what's called as a regional approach. We're discussing each regions and describing it. Example of literary writing, an example of a regional approach. और ये अप्रोच बहुत दिन तक था. See, why are we making an encyclopedia? Because the realization कि अर्थ के बारे में तो बहुत कुछ जानना है आपको, and one book can't handle it. So let's write a huge volume, and somewhere their objective was also to compile all knowledge about earth in one place. That's one of the objectives that they had. They wanted to compile all knowledge of the earth at one place. Somewhere they are seeing geography as a way of combining all knowledge. See, what's all knowledge of the earth? All knowledge of earth is the winds of the earth, the mountains of the earth, the rivers of the earth, the people live on earth, whatever they do on the earth. Okay. The trade that we have. If I am writing a book of geography, say about India, हम क्या लिखेंगे geography में? हम लिखेंगे इंडिया कहां पर है? India has mountains, plateau plains. India has rivers. India has minerals. India has agriculture. India has industries. The tribes of India, the language of India, the political units of India. These are the problems of conflicts. Okay. This is what India is developing. So, छूटा क्या आपका? When I ultimately combine everything together, am I not getting one complete book? This was a tradition that happened afterwards when people start realizing that geography can be the basis of unifying all knowledge. See, one is मुझे ज्योग्राफी पढ़ना है, Second is, why read geography? मुझे geography पढ़ना है because I want to know the earth. And then I realized that while I want to know the earth, geography सब कुछ ले आता है. So people started arguing that geography is the mother subject that combines all other knowledge. I mean, go back and check your syllabus, you'll realize this. Geography has physics, geography has sociology, geography has politics, geography has resources, geography has economy, geography has culture, languages, population, geography environment भी है, geography में development planning भी है. So this is one of the first examples where geography was seen as combining the knowledge of the earth. In fact, Strabo said that one of the purpose of geographers should be to know the details for two things or for three things. One is know the details to know diversity. Second, know the details to know resources and economic growth. And third, know details for good governance. If I want to have India's development planning, I must know कहाँ mountains हैं, कहाँ rivers हैं, कहाँ minerals हैं. I must know the landscapes, the climates. And if I know all of that, I can plan for India's development also. So Strabo said, the geography can be a very good tool for supporting administrations. Geography can be a very good subject for helping kings conquer lands, for helping empire buildings. So he kind of gives purpose to geography now. Okay, so back to your notes now. No, it's gone. नहीं है. Yeah. So write on third column, write down. Strabo, while defining the scope of geography, Strabo, while defining the scope of geography, was able to project geography as a unifying subject. Was able to project geography as a unifying subject in his regional approach. As unifying subject in his regional approach. Next slide down. For Strabo, geographers have a purpose. Third column में, for Strabo, geographers have a purpose. To understand landscape diversity, comma, to appreciate development prospects, and to identify resources. And number 3, to support administration and good governance. For Strabo, next sentence. For Strabo, geography has relevance in supporting administration of empires. सपोर्टिंग द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ अंपायर्स। देखो ये रोमन्स है, राइट? द पावर ऑफ रोमन्स was the ability to conquer, and one reason why they were so good was because they studied geography of the place very well before they go and attack. Okay, they know the landscape, they know the routes, they know the resources, what type of people. They will send scouts for months together to study the landscape first, and that's how even after conquering, remember, they're known for making roads, networks. So they use geographers in detail. And that's what Strabo is telling us. The purpose of geography is not simply knowing the earth, but know the earth with the objective of development, planning, resource, and so on. So wahin par add kar lo. This is the beginnings of applied approach in geography, correct? This is the beginnings of applied approach in geography. Applied approach का मतलब क्या होता है? You're studying a subject for some development outcome. You're studying geography to solve floods. You study geography to solve droughts. You study geography for mineral explorations. You study geography for controlling maybe some disasters. So geography is not simply a knowledge for sake of knowing things. You ultimately use it for your own benefit. So Strabo establishes that nature of geography. तो अगर कोई क्वेश्चन पूछता है, discuss the evolution of geography as a modern discipline of applied sciences. आप यहां से ट्रेस करोगे आप. Is it okay, all of you? So these are the two contributors of Rome. Yeah, Roman Empire. Yes. Because he is describing. When I say literary approach, it is a descriptive approach. आप ये north जाओ, वहाँ mountain मिलेगा. Turn left, you'll have agricultural fields. Beyond that are forests. I'm describing, right? The description requires language. It is not mathematical equations. Okay. So Strabo, when I use the name Strabo, आपको ये चार चीज आना चाहिए. Strabo is a regional. Strabo is descriptive. Strabo talked about the purpose and the scope of geography, and Strabo talks about applied aspect in geography. The four contributions of Strabo and his 17 volume encyclopedia. Strabo makes geography regional, talking about regions and describing them. Descriptive, and it is literary approach. Okay. Geography of Strabo has a purpose. There is a scope of geography. The scope includes the applied importance of geography. Yes, some of these books, इनके spellings जो है, in some books they'll write Geographia, in some books they write Geographica, and lot of these names remain same. That's okay, Pooja, no worries. As an applied discipline. I'm just thinking hypothetically. अगर पूछेगा, this is the story that you have, starting from Strabo. Is it okay, all of you here? One small discussion before we break for the day. Okay, just give a heading. The Dark Ages. The Dark Ages. Dark Ages, I said, maybe 200, 300 or 500 AD से लेकर 800 AD, some say 1100, some say as much as 1400. So remember this range. The Dark Age. The Dark Age is also referred to as the Middle Ages. Is also referred to as Middle Ages. And remember, the Dark Age है, it is a a Eurocentric approach. It is a Eurocentric concept. When I say dark age, I mean it's an age that is relevant for Europe, not for the whole world. And dark age mein, the primary problem was decline of scientific knowledge. The primary problem was destruction of all established geographical concepts, decline of scientific knowledge, and the destruction of all established geographical knowledge. Okay, dark age promoted the supremacy of the church. Promoted the supremacy of the church. And all knowledge was made compatible with what was acceptable in religious preachings and Bible. Acceptable with religious preachings or religious teachings and Bible. ये बड़ा interesting trend है. See, in the older times, when knowledge was not as much and awareness was not as much, and I had to establish that my religious book is supreme book, the best book. What I'll do is, whatever I understand is right from the book, I'll accept it, and whatever I can't understand, I'll say, okay, वो हमारे किताब में है नहीं, वो गलत है. Okay, so there is a religious book, okay, and I have lot of knowledge here. Any knowledge जो इसके साथ में है, that's correct. Whatever doesn't measure, I say ये गलत है. Okay, any person who says this is killed. Blasphemy है, heretic है, kill him. अच्छा, मॉडर्न डे में क्या हुआ? So I have a book, and these books continue to have, for a lack of better word, a confusing concepts. I'm being polite here, otherwise actually absurd, but absurd दिल में चोट लग जाएगा. Okay, ऐसे confusing concepts समझ में नहीं आता. Now see, awareness बहुत ज़्यादा है. In today's world, if I tell that, no, earth is flat, okay, the whole world will laugh at me. Today the world, if I tell you, no, earth is center and sun revolves, all will start laughing at me. So मैंने एक नया technique किया है. Now what I do is, I know what the facts are. Now I will try desperately to prove कि जो आप कह रहे हो ना, मेरी किताब में ऑलरेडी है. पहले हम क्या करते थे, समझेंगे उसको हटा देते थे. अब हटा नहीं पाओगे, राइट? हटा दोगे तो यू लुक लाइक ए जोकर नाउ. आई डू द रिवर्स थिंग नाउ. ओके, एनीथिंग मॉडर्न यू टेल मी, मेरे किताब में तो है. ओके, माई गॉड हैज टोल्ड मी ऐसे ही होने वाला है. ओके, सो वन ऑफ द डेज माई मदर सिटिंग एंड सेड, बेटा कयामत आने वाला है. मामा, हाउ डू यू नो दिस? लिखा है, जब घर घर में म्यूजिक होगा, okay, जब हाथ में you'll have अय्याशी होगा, okay, एंड मोबाइल फोन है, देखो. तो कुरान में लिखा गया है कि तो मोबाइल फोन आएगा. मैंने कहा, माम, दिस इज तो अल्टीमेट पहुंच गया. मैंने कहा, मामा देखो तो 3G है कि 4G है. ओके, लेट्स फाइंड आउट दैट फर्स्ट. ओके, रुक जाओ, मैं देखती हूं, लिखा होगा कहीं ना कहीं. Is a new technique. पहले I could dismiss it. Now I can't dismiss it. I will pull it inside my book definitely. Okay. So ultimately, call it fear, call it insecurities, whatever. हम इसको छोड़ नहीं पाते हैं. Now our entire agenda is how to prove that this is true. Okay. So I think we are also in dark age of a different kind. Not much has changed over the centuries and the years. And इस dark age का एक interesting map था. So all the maps drawn were destroyed. Because all the maps, they talked about Earth is round. Okay, they talked about some landscapes. जो समझ में नहीं आता था क्या है. The church said, destroy all the maps. We will give you a map of the world. And the church gave a map of the world called as the TO map. Where they said, यहां पर एशिया है. This is Europe. And this is Africa. And they said, this water body is the Mediterranean Sea. This is the river Don and the Black Sea. And this is the Red Sea and the river Nile. Okay. चारों तरफ is the great ocean. This is the great ocean. ऊपर में यहां पर this is heaven. यहां पर it is hell. और सेंटर में it is Jerusalem. It's called as the infamous TO map of the Dark Age. It was sanctioned by the church कि यही पढ़ेंगे आप. Change the NCERT course, अब यही पढ़ा जाएगा. It's called as the TO map. बेटा अभी हम मुस्कुरा रहे हैं ना, अभी मुस्कुरा रहे तब ना आपको okay, you would have been put to stake. Last laugh of your life. Okay, the TO map. Asia, Europe, Africa. This is the Mediterranean Sea. This is River Don. River Don, it was called as Tanais. T-A-N-I-N-A-I-S. Tanais River or River Don is a big river of Black Sea. River Don and the Black Sea. And this is the Red Sea and River Nile. Okay. The world ocean, heaven, hell, and Jerusalem. Imagine what a colossal loss of knowledge it must have been. अच्छे खासे मैप बने हुए आपने जला दिया, डिस्ट्रॉय कर दिया, libraries are burned, people are killed, and you promote an idea, okay, that becomes the basis of your known world. You understand now why Europeans lost out on trade then? ये मैप पे कहां जाएंगे? राइट? ये मैप लेके अगर निकलोगे आप, ओके, जैनों में जाओगे और कहीं नहीं, यहां पहुंचोगे, या फिर नशा कर लेते यहां पहुंच जाओगे. दो कश और ओके, ओ वाओ, अपुनी जी भगवान है. ठीक है, all of you? The infamous TO map that destroyed lot of geographical knowledge and lot of geographical concepts known in those times. Okay, so now in your textbook now, time to open up the book here. Just 3-4 pages, okay? And if you're curious, fine, but I'll discourage to read more than that. I'm looking at this book of yours, Geographical Thought, second edition, R.D. Dixit, The Great Ocean, Surya. Okay, and इस किताब में page number 19. Whatever I have taught is in this book. Okay. Page 19, the first chapter, the first foundations, developments up to the 18th century. 18th century. I hope it's visible to all of you. Okay, so quick, fast read. The Greeks and the Romans. So Homer, Odyssey, 9th century BC. How Odysseus was journey home to Ithaca. दिख रहा है आपको ये points? And then he talks about daytime, nighttime, polar regions. The works of Thales of Miletus. Miletus. Another man is Anaximander. They use a sundial. इसका नाम लिखा नहीं है, but you know that now. Called as gnomon. 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 Okay. And how Thales and Anaximander, they are originators of the mathematical tradition in geography in the ancient Greece. Then we have Hecataeus. Hecataeus writes just Peridos or Peridos just. Okay. Again, literary tradition. I mentioned regional geography here. The works of Herodotus. He talks about barbarians, tribes around the Mediterranean Sea. Okay. We talked about Plato. Okay. Plato. Deductive reasoning बताया आपको मैंने Plato का. And he talks about the place called Attica. Attica is according to Plato, the area was originally very fertile and capable of supporting large population of men and animals. He wrote that compared to the original state, Attica of his time was like a skeleton of a sick man, all flesh and soft earth having been whisked away, and only bare framework of land being left. Okay, so Plato is regarded as the first scholar who put forward the concept of a spherical earth. Okay, then earth as center of universe. Aristotle was the father of inductive reasoning. Okay, and observation. He talks about 4 concepts or principles of scientific explanation. बताया आपको मैंने 4 जो है principles हैं. Know the characteristics, the substance made up of, the process and the purpose. Okay, and I map this to positivism. Okay, so जो mapping वाला part है, the book will not do it. I am doing that for you. ये कहाँ पर use होने वाला है? And I said he also is a strong, remember teleologist here? Okay, so was Plato also. Okay, then we have the works of Eratosthenes, page 22 में है, 22 में है. Okay, father of geography, coined the word geography. Okay, he wrote the book called Geographica. Okay, and he also improved on the climate zones. There is a torrid zone, frigid zone, and so on. The first man to tell us the climate depends on the distance from the equator. ये idea Aristotle को भी था. Okay, where he said near the equator is very, very hot. So even he knew some of these concepts also. Okay, so that's about the Greeks. The Romans, page 23 में है. Ptolemy's work, Almagest. He writes about map making, projections. The first volume, इसका नाम था Syntaxis. It was an 8-volume book. Okay, the first volume is नाम लिखा नहीं यहाँ पर. I call that as Syntaxis. It has discussion map projections. Then we have a Strabo. Okay, Strabo 17-volume book. यहाँ पे लिखा है Geography, but know this as Geographia or Geographica again, same name. Okay, Strabo, and Strabo wrote about. Okay, the Strabo's book was considered for administration, for statesmen, for commanders of Roman Empire. The purpose was to provide a handbook of information about places, people, and for the help of imperial officers for better appreciation and accomplishment of the task. Strabo's book laid down fine. So what are the works of Strabo? Okay, then your next page has something on the Middle Ages. Middle Ages, the Dark Age. Okay, so a few things, nothing much. And that is, everything is inside the holy books. Anything that did not conform the truth, okay, was regarded as the product of perverse mind, accordingly had to be rejected. Okay, the truth was preached by the church. The idea of spherical earth was abandoned. Earth was a flat disk, Jerusalem as center, and so on. And it went on till the end of 12th century AD, or some say 13th, 14th century AD also. ठीक है. सो यही जो पेजेस हैं फ्रॉम पेज 19 अप टू पेज 24 एंड मस्ट बी अ क्विक रीड. नाउ सी द सीक्वेंस कैसे होगा फॉर दोज हु हैव जॉइंड मी न्यू. फर्स्ट इज you revise the notes. From the notes, you make your synopsis. Okay. When making synopsis, don't write on both sides. Only on one side लिखो आप synopsis. ये करने के बाद में, then you will open the book. You'll not open the book till you finish synopsis first. Okay. And from the book, whatever is new point, आप इसमें ऐड कर दोगे. You'll not make a separate synopsis for the book. Remember this. And the book will not come in till you have done this first. Is it okay, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Arvind, I will, but only what's required, not every page or every paragraph. Yes, Nasir, you discovered it. You have to buy second edition. First में ये सब नहीं होगा या फिर different lines होंगे. अच्छा, all of you now, on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we have case studies, which is beyond some current affairs also. It takes 15-20 minutes. We start at 2:30. So my request, all of you join. Online guys, you'll have a link, another one. You log out from this and log into that. A case study session, okay, 2 days a week, today and tomorrow. Okay then, bye-bye all of you. Yes. ऐसे लिखा है.